Good morning, Amina.
Morning.
Welcome to SEOs Getting Coffee, second episode, second week. This week I've got a novelty mug of I just want to drink coffee and pet my cat, which is probably more suitable to you, being a cat fan as you are.
You're in the office.
Person.
That's my one actually. That's my cup. So
there we go.
You're welcome.
Thanks for letting me borrow it. More
my
of a dog person, so.
My one is a very custom-made one by my daughter, a Christmas one. So
very nice.
The best.
Good for Q4, right? Very apt. Yes, I'm in the office. So second episode of SEOs Getting Coffee. So just taking a little bit of time just to catch up on some SEO things, really, and then have a little discussion about anything that's on your mind or something that you've been working on in the SEO department, and also Room 404, which is banishing something that has annoyed us this week to Room 404 to be forever forgotten about. So last week you mentioned authors, so I was going to start there really and ask you about if you wanted to discuss something about authors and author profiles on websites.
Yeah, so we've been doing a few of those for clients, and I mean, I'm really shocked that you still have this situation where the authors on a website are under some kind of pseudonym, like, Vixen Team, for example, because that's not going to really, it's not great UX. And it also, I mean, we all know that Google uses EEAT. And while I still am yet to find kind of a clear correlation between having author profiles and building, improving your EEAT signals, they are still important, if for nothing else, for the UX side of things. And many websites just don't have them, and they're so important to have.
No, I think you still, after I think there's been a lot hit after the last, the update, the core updates that we talked about in last week. But there's still a lot of websites that use that kind of, even admin, right? Just plain old admin, and that's the author of the piece. But on the other hand, there are still websites that rank quite highly, or pieces of content that rank quite highly with that kind of, that author assigned, so admin or the site name or something. But I think as we go forward and as things are kind of developing, is that I think it's even more important now that authors are considered as as their own entities, and as their, and how it's all obviously integrated with your whole kind of ecosystem of the brand and the business, with across all your web properties, socials, as well as the website. And I think all of that is going to be clearly important, and even more so as we go forward.
Yeah, and I think it's an opportunity really for your brand to build not just the company brand, but the actual personal brands of the authors that you have. So if you have a hard-hitting expert in your industry working for you, that will all help build that trust that you want in your buyer audience and in Google, because you're going to have that hard hitter as a profile on your company website. You're going to link, there's some kind of best practices to really follow when you're doing your author's profile. So maybe we can have a quick chat about that for people who are interested. But the message is really, you should try and have authors' profiles on your website, because they do matter for the user experience.
Yeah, but I think one of the things, you know, and it's not just obviously having it light as well. I think the author profiles themselves need to be developed. You know, because obviously people just think to put an author profile and it's just literally their name and maybe a bio, but actually it's like thinking a bit more than that. You know, it's a bit more like a developed actual profile page that links to you know, all social media that they use professionally, as well as like, you know, citations or features, or, you know, wherever if they've worked on a particular, I don't know, some project or something that's linked, you know, linked to that project, or where they've been mentioned in books or in publications. You know, I think it's all of that kind of stuff, as if you were almost like, yeah, like a CV in a way, but more obviously like a web page, you know. So like a profile page that actually links to you know, to the various resources that someone's collected and been featured in over the years. Perhaps we're going to see more of a kind of business operate around, obviously, people that can obviously, I guess, they can commercialize themselves as being like, if, you know, you've got your, but that as being guest authors, right? So you can kind of, I think in the future, potentially you'd have a situation where certain individuals might be able to obviously be paid by companies to be a guest author on their site. Probably goes on now. I'm sure it does go on now.
Oh yes, in SEO particularly, you know, when you think about how search engine journal works, and you know, there's always quite a lot of guest authors who are high, you know, high hitting.
Yeah.
Whether that's sponsored, whether it's not, I think it's kind of a mix. And we have a client now who has guest authors, so some of the profiles on their website are now guest authors because they've had some amazing experts writing for them. So it's really important to kind of put those on to build that trust and that credibility.
Yeah. No, it's interesting how it interlinks obviously with EEAT, and, you know, obviously how that's going to develop. But yeah, I think there's a lot of people that are left behind with it, and I think, you know, a piece of advice really, and I guess what to come out of this is that it's surprising to see how many people are still operating without that, you know, without kind of like you know, they're, you know, even like one or two authors that actually write the content of a website for them. So if you're in-house, or if you're like, you know, whoever it is that's writing those blogs is actually saying, well, you know, this is the person, and having that profile on your page instead of under like the, you know, an admin author or something like that. So
yeah. So what would be your 3 tips for an author page? You go with yours and then I'll supplement with mine.
Yeah, of course. Well, first things first, is make sure that they're indexed. I think that's one thing, because it's surprising. Like if you've got a website like WordPress, it's very easy for them not to be indexed. Okay, so that's one thing. So yeah, just make sure obviously indexing is all as you intended it to be found by Google. Second thing, it would be social profile links. So, you know, if somebody is using certain social media profiles professionally, and even in some cases, you know, personally, it's obviously linking those so that Google can obviously, you know, get a more kind of coherent view of your whole ecosystem as an author, as you know, as a person, right? Which interlinks into a third, which would be schema, right? Person schema. So then for any other profiles that you could include is indicating to Google where else you can be found on the web, right? And what other platforms you're using and publishing information on, or publishing your content on, to indicate to Google, where you can be found, and basically what your whole kind of digital fingerprint is really.
Excellent. Yeah, it's interesting with schema, because one of the misconceptions out there is that schema will improve your EEAT, and actually it's not. You know, schema it's basically, in a very simplified way, a way of, you know, teaching Google teaching these large learning models how to crunch data and how to understand data. So it's useful on that side, but it can be manipulated. So obviously it's not going to it's not a, just because you put schema markup. But I agree. I think it's important to have person schema. The other one that I would suggest is adding the author indicators in your article schemas, making sure that your authors are definitely listed in your article schema. You had some really good among your three, so I'm gonna go with citations. I think citations are really important. So if your author is a speaker on big conferences, you should definitely put that in and link to those conferences. If your author has any really well-known publications in your expert field, you should definitely put links to that. You've mentioned before kind of the body of work. The other one is, funnily enough, I think, I mean, obviously I haven't done research on this, but I think it's important to put the job roles on your author profiles, and for those job roles to really match what you have on like LinkedIn and kind of the job history side of things, because again, that is building trust with users that you have worked in this industry for a long time, and it's a transparency around your role. And then the third one is, I mean, very basic: image. So don't just put an author profile up there with no image of the author, just kind of a placeholder, because it doesn't really scream trustworthiness.
Yeah.
I think making sure that you have an image of a human being there. But I wonder if now that we have AI writing a lot of content, if you're gonna see, kind of AI author profiles.
Yeah, I'm sure you will. I'm sure it'll come about, and I'm sure that generated profile pictures of fake people will start popping up, a lot more often than they do already, or even people in certain scenarios. Obviously having like a professional headshot is a lot easier to do these days with AI. So yeah, that wraps it up quite nicely. I think we can go to our room 404 section.
Always ending on a high.
Yeah, always. So room 404 this week, I would put in cold outreach emails that I've been receiving, and in particular, just the the title "Quick Question." That's what I would get rid of, and yeah, never to grace and see the light of day again. Yeah, I'd have a much happier working week if I never saw another quick question email in my inbox.
I mean, look, it's a standard. It's like GA4. It should be in a room 410, really, never to come back.
It comes from, I think it comes from the amount of quick question cold outreach emails comes from some kind of, I think it's some kind of, it might be an ebook or some kind, I can't remember, I'm not sure what it is, so I'll have to double check. But it comes from a very popular publication or something that was put out to say, like, it's one of the highest kind of most engaged responses for cold emails is obviously quick question. So of course now everybody does it, and everybody says, oh, quick question, and in their cold outreach email. So it's kind of like, it's like negative returns now, because now everybody's doing it. It doesn't work anymore. So actually that advice is obviously from its, when it used to obviously have, but now it just has the opposite effect in my opinion. So
yeah, and its uglier sister, the LinkedIn, dear sir, madam, when you you get them from particularly somebody who's trying to flog you some links, some really bad links.
Yeah, I think it's often link building services. So yeah, I think quick question email subjects combined with cold outreach link building guys just getting in touch. Dear sir, please buy my links.
All right. I think
Good to
I
chat.
agree.
Yeah, well, we'll see you next week for another SEOs Getting Coffee. Yeah, thanks to everyone. Please feel free to obviously subscribe and like the video. And yeah, and hopefully we'll see you back here next week. Thanks, Amina. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Cheers.